from Kern Government Television. Welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, good afternoon. Board to reconvene. Just wait a second. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez. Here.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, February 28th, 2 p.m. Meeting of the Board of Supervisors. I'd like to read a report out of closed session. First, before we commence, today in closed session regarding item 53 of this morning's agenda, I'm pleased to report by unanimous vote 5-0, the Board of Supervisors appointed Jeremy Oliver as the next Director of Aging and Adult Services, effective March 4th, 2023. Mr. Oliver is a graduate of South High here in Bakersfield, has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Psychology from CSU Bakersfield, and has served as the Interim Director of Aging and Adult Services since April 2022. Prior to serving as the Interim Director, Mr. Oliver served in various roles over the last 23 years for the Department of Aging and Adult Services as a social service worker, social service supervisor, and most recently as a Human Services Program Director. Mr. Oliver has shown throughout his career he is committed to serving our community and continues to effectively lead the department to better serve our residents. The board is grateful for his leadership and integrity Mr. Oliver has demonstrated over the last 25 years during his tenure with the county. The board congratulates Mr. Oliver on his appointment, and I would like to give him an opportunity to say a few words. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Chairman Flores, Supervisor Couch, Supervisor Scrivener, Supervisor Peters, and not last or least by any means, Supervisor Perez. I would just like to take a moment to really thank all the people that have helped me get to this point in my career. So starting off with my wife, who is actually in the back of the room, supporting me here today and supports me every day. Our children, our parents, all of our family members and friends, the Commission on Aging, the In-Home IHSS Advisory Commission, the previous directors that have come before me in terms of this department, so all the directors that had the opportunity to lay this foundation for our department, and of course, the amazing staff at Aging and Adult Services. Not last by any means either, the seniors, persons with disabilities, their families, their friends, that we have the privilege to serve every day in this great county. So again, thank you very much for this amazing opportunity.
Thank you. Good luck to you. Yeah, sure.
Chairman,
Sure.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to say congratulations to you. All of my interactions with you under Lito have been as absolute consummate professional, caring about the work, caring about the individuals, and just being absolutely accessible on early in response to people. I mean, really, I think you have a remarkable, collection of tools and skills, and clearly a work ethic that sets you apart, and you've had great training by Lito. So I'm very, very grateful to you, your attitude and the spirit you bring to the work. You're clearly a public servant, and you're just right at the right place at the right time, and that's nice. Doesn't always happen that way, as you know, but occasionally we get these moments, and this is one such moment. So I'm happy for you and happy for the county, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Perez. County Counsel, Margot Rison, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This morning in closed session, you, in addition to item number 53, which you just announced, you heard item 55. You continued items 52, 54, 54A until March 14th. And other than what you reported, there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll go to the consent agenda. All items listed with the CA above the item number considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, I will read the consent agenda items. On page 2, items 3 and 4, page 3, items 5 through 9, page 4, items 10 through 13, and item 15, page 5, items 16 through 22, and on page 6, items 23 through 27. Okay, would any member of the public like to discuss any of the items on our consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Motion on consent.
Second.
Motion and second, members cast your vote.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to another appointment. I would like to acknowledge that under the consent agenda, item number 4, the board appointed Jeremy Brock as the Kern County Surveyor of the County of Kern, effective March 11th, 2023. Mr. Brock is in the audience with his family today, and I'd like to share that Jeremy began his career with the county in 2001 as an engineering aide, field survey crew member. Throughout his career, he's been frequently promoted to positions with increasingly higher levels of responsibility that include map room attendant, party chief, and parcel map and track map plan checker. In 2010, Jeremy passed his land surveyor in training exam. Upon licensure as a professional land surveyor, Jeremy was promoted to engineering supervisor in the county surveyor's office in 2021, where he supervised all aspects of field surveying. Mr. Brock's 22-year career with Kern County has been exclusively with the County Survey Division of Public Works. His countless projects and diverse work experience make Jeremy Brock the ideal candidate to lead the County Surveyor's Office for the foreseeable future. Jeremy, would you like to come up forward and say a few remarks?
Thank you very much, Chairman Flores, Supervisor Couch, Supervisor Scrivener, Supervisor Peters, and Supervisor Perez. It's an honor to serve in this capacity. I've worked with great people throughout my tenure and still do. Many of them are here today, as well as my friends and family, my assistant director, and those I work with in the Public Works Division. The county has given me the wherewithal to be where I am today. All of the training, everything that I know, I can attribute to the training I received by those that supervised me and those that I worked with. Also, I'd like to give a great thank you to my family who's here today, my mom, my brother, my wife, and my 3 children. Also with me is the current county surveyor, Brian Blacklock, who is on this AM's consent agenda because he's retiring after 37 years of service, and that is to be commended. And he was kind of shy, but he's here today, so I wanted to embarrass him a little bit and tell him thank you, because he was the first person I worked with when I came to the county 22 years ago, and he's training me up until his last day. And then also with us is the county surveyor, who was the county surveyor, a former county surveyor when I was hired. His name is Danny McAllister. He retired in 2004, and I give him honor today, as well as all of my friends and family. Thank you very much for appointing me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Congratulations again. Thank you. Sure. Okay. So now we're kind of going back in time, and we're going to hear items A and B now, which were previously 15 and 16. And this is a continuation from the AM session on presentation on Kern County Elections Division operations, and also proposed retroactive agreement number 4 to agreement 101-2016 with Dominion Voting Systems, And we left off during public comment, so that's where we'll begin now at this time. Please come forward.
Okay, my name is Linda Ramirez, Ramirez. So just getting right along here. Leticia Perez had a question about legitimacy of an individual who came here to speak. I just want you to know it is a legitimate question to question everything that is going on. And you think and you get the impression that it's a partisan issue. It's not a partisan issue. The two experts that came out here to speak to us, that one which was never given the opportunity to speak as he was planned to, came to discover, both of them, that it was a Democratic and Republican agenda. It was rampant on both parties, and mentioned that Florida was the worst of all the states. So something to consider for all those people out here that think there's an agenda, Republican agenda or Democratic agenda. It's not an agenda. It's a national agenda that's going on, that we are concerned citizens stepping forward to trying to address these situations. Okay, so also, Clinton Curtis in 2000, and these are things you can all find for yourself. You can look it up, but you'll have to go to other sites, rumble.com, because they won't show it on YouTube. Clinton Curtis in 2000 is the one who came and made an affidavit stating that he was asked and requested to make a source code that would flip the votes. You can look him in the court hearing, and then he's now become an attorney since then to come out and fight on our side because of his experience. But you can look up his affidavit, Clinton Curtis. Okay, and he said that basically what's found is all the different machines that you're questioning, they're all designed to be compromised. So it's not a matter of dispute. The other thing is, it's called compartmentalization. If the military and government, you'll only know what they want you to know. They will know anything. So I praise the work and the dedication, everything that you do on behalf of the government, but there's another whole system working with this system. That's why you don't know what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez.
Okay.
Time has expired. Thank you so much.
It looked like I had 16 more seconds.
Well, that's your 18 over.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Duetta Riley. A couple of things I want to say really quickly that tie into the statement she just made. When we say there's no evidence, we haven't seen the evidence, we haven't been able to show you any evidence, I just want to point out to you that there are statements by Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, and Chuck Schumer on video at that hearing, watching demonstrations of the Dominion machines being hacked and changing results on numbers of votes. That's on the record. That's on, I would think, evidence for you guys. Now, they did that back in 2016, and suddenly, crickets. They don't have a problem with Dominion machines at all. One question I wanted to ask you, there was an employee at the elections department, I believe her name is Kern. It's my understanding, Amy, did she go to work for Dominion? Is she our rep now?
She did go work for Dominion, but she's not our rep.
Okay. Someone had just asked me to ask that since they couldn't be here for the afternoon. What I'd like to hit on today in the afternoon session is we're losing our country. It's not a mistake. It's at every level. And I'm sure many people playing their parts don't even see that yet. When I tell you about the Q thing, the Q thing knows about this Clinton Curtis, this whole hearing thing. I just want to share one really interesting tidbit from Dr. Frank, the meeting. I wish you would have been there. He was awesome. But he has a very high security clearance, but he has someone that has a clearance higher than him. Oh, it might be Clinton Curtis. He was meeting with a government official who swore there was no way that their system could be hacked. He called his friend. He gave the friend the personal phone number, the computer, every device you can think of, the Dominion machines.
Ms. Riley, thank you. You want to wrap it up real quick?
Yeah, okay. Anyway, he hacked it and gave this guy his passwords on every one of them, and the guy's like, I didn't know I could do that.
Thank you. Please come forward in public comment.
Good afternoon.
Good for you.
My name is Ralph Robles, R-O-B-L-E-S. I am
I think you've
a
already
veteran.
you've already spoken on this item.
I came to offer
But we'll-
a suggestion, if I may, and that is that you continue this issue until the opposing people can have an opportunity to present the evidence.
Okay, thank you.
That Ms. Perez has been denying.
Okay, well, thank you for that suggestion, and I'm still opening it to public comment for those that have not spoken yet.
Is this the same thing that was going on this morning?
Yes. Yeah, this is for the election item, contract, and presentation. Please come forward.
Hi, District Dignitaries, Karen Boyd here. Be it resolved, the City of Taft recommends that Kern County, California does not renew its contract with Dominion Voting Systems and instead investigates other options for carrying out our county elections. Reasons: a large majority of the public no longer trusts our election process. Continued use of these systems is discouraging our citizens from voting and is diminishing trust in their elected officials. The Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Administration, CISA, are federal agencies that have publicly acknowledged that Dominion election equipment does not meet federal requirements. The Halderman Report, which demonstrates the vulnerability of all current electronic systems in use, including Dominion, was presented in a Georgia court in 2021, and the report was nationally affirmed by the CISA soon after. The Dominion election equipment we currently use is capable of connecting to the internet and confirmed by county IT professionals. If it is impossible to secure our current election equipment as indicated by the Halderman Report and affirmed by the CISA, then we should not be using it. Am I boring you?
No, I'm yawning.
Okay.
No, you're not. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Our citizens, therefore, have good reason for not trusting our current election system because it is not transparent and it is not possible to secure. We would be the second county in California to cease using Dominion equipment in our elections following Shasta County's recent decision to end their contract with Dominion. In conclusion, I just pray that y'all will listen to the 95% of the people today who came out in opposition of the Dominion contract.
Thank you.
Although your report
Thank you, Ms. Boyd.
was very lengthy, your policies and procedures, rules and regulations, it doesn't matter.
Thank you,
Those
Ms. Boyd.
machines
Your time's
speak for
expired. Thank you.
themselves.
Thank you.
They're correct.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Excuse me, good afternoon, Cameron Paulden, P-A-U-L-D-E-N. Thank you for all your time on this important matter. There's apparently a lawsuit between Dominion and Fox that's coming up, and you guys are going to see a lot of information come out. I would just respectfully request, you guys are running this show, to slow down, tap the brakes a little bit, listen to some of the stuff that's coming out of there, and see whether or not Dominion is a good deal for Kern County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Okay, next speaker, please come forward.
Joe Chesney, Kernville, Chesney. I was here on the 2nd of February, and I want to redact my 18% that I said came out to vote that day. I walked in, I heard you say what you did when I went to the bathroom. I go, what, 46%? So I did, I was wrong. It's not that 18% came out that day, but only 18% came out for that day voting. It wasn't the overall voting. Only 18% of Kern County of the voters came out. And I think that's really terrible, and I think it shows a lot of people not very happy. And again, I mean, I'm just sitting here watching and listening. I've refused to come up here until I heard everybody speak. And what I'm hearing here is that we have to restore public confidence in the elections process. You have people coming in here being angry. I don't think getting angry goes anywhere. You know, loose cannons around are dangerous. But what I do feel is that there definitely needs to be something done in regards to the election process to have confidence of people to come out to vote again. Like, you know, you guys were doing a good job with elections when people come to vote. When people decide to not vote, why is that? Well, heck, I hung out here all morning listening to people ranting and raving. I'm not going to be a rant and raver. I'm not here to rant and rave. I'm here to understand. Now, one thing I would like to, I do have a question, and it's pertaining to the county clerk. And my question is, are you in control, is Kern County clerk in control of the ROV and then released to the control of the Secretary of State, or do you send everything straight to the Secretary of State, and then if there's anything that has to be done with reconciliation, it happens there? Or does reconciliation occur prior to the release of the ROV to the state of California?
Thank you, Mr. Chesney. Maybe we can take that on when we do discussion from the board and with the auditor, clerk, controller. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your questions.
How can I find out what she's going to say about it?
Well, if you have the time, I don't know your schedule, you're welcome to stay and watch our deliberations, or you can follow up with an email, whatever you want to do. I don't know how much time you have.
Yeah, I just like, I mean, it sounds like
Stick
something.
around. Yeah, we're going to get to it quickly. All right. Okay. Next speaker.
My name is Dennis Jones. Dennis Jones.
Jeffers?
Dennis. And it's my understanding that the contract with Dominion is that nobody has the codes to get into their software. In other words, they do not have the security codes to get into their software. It's only the Dominion people that have those codes. So I asked the gentleman over here, and I'm sorry I missed your name, if he had the codes to get in to the software when the software was running at the time of the election. And he wasn't sure what the software was. But then I asked him, was he able to see what was happening during the election to see if the machines were acting right, if there was any problems with the software? And he said he was not on. He could not get in there and be on the software. So nobody could check if Dominion was doing it right. Now, I assume they were doing right because we have no evidence to say they're not doing it right. And we'd have no evidence that somebody from the outside came in and hacked and changed the votes. So anyway, that's something that the board should check on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other public comment, please come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman Flores, board members. Good afternoon. I'm David Hartley, Hartley. I live in Bakersfield, and I'm here for election integrity. So many people have spoke today. My message is I'm going to have to jump around to deliver it. But anyway, for those supervisors seeking more evidence, and for the apologists for Dominion here, and a few that were in the crowd today, here's some more evidence. Los Angeles County was just forced by litigation, Judicial Watch, to remove $1.2 million from their bloated voter rolls. It's likely Kern County's voter rolls are also bloated to some degree with people who are not qualified to vote or are dead. Kern County is now a party to a lawsuit. The claims and affidavits are evidence, and more evidence will emerge with additional discovery. In the lawsuit between Fox News and Dominion that a few people have mentioned, a Fox court filing shows executives at Dominion knew its voting systems were, quote, hacked and riddled with bugs. That's not all that was said. It's just the things that I chose to pick out to present today. Dominion's Director of Product Strategy and Security, Eric Coomer, admitted, quote, our products suck. This is an illegal filing. You can check it out for yourself. Both lawsuits are evidence that should cause this board to unanimously vote no on Dominion. Then finally, we have the issue of voter disenfranchisement. Voters are easily disenfranchised when they don't trust the system and don't trust the elections office. That's a simple fact of human nature, and I'm placing this evidence squarely in front of this board. And a recent KGET poll supports this with 80% of respondents indicating that they don't trust the machines. This is also evidence, and I'm going to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Voter turnout was only 44% and supports my thesis of massive voter disenfranchisement here in Kern County. Please defund the machines, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley. Okay, next speaker, please come forward.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you again today. I didn't speak on this prior to, so
Your name for the record?
I am Barbara Porter, and I'm back again. Okay, this is in reference to Rule 17B, and we're asking for Jeff Flores to recuse himself because of what he said on the radio about us who are asking questions. That is a rule governing you. And as far as Ms. Perez goes, I'm trying to be an adult, okay? It's hard when we come up here and ask you direct questions and you put us down. How are we going to find out if Jeff Flores has recused himself from this vote that we want as a no on these Dominion machines? How do we find that out?
You're going to find out because I'll be voting shortly after we deliberate.
You're going to be voting?
Yes, ma'am. We'll all be voting after we deliberate as a board.
So are you going to be recusing yourself?
Absolutely not. I have an obligation
So
to
you
vote.
don't believe in rule number 17B?
I believe in voting and exercising my duty as a public official, but I don't want to take away from your time. I'll talk later.
Well, that's okay. I just want to make sure that if this board, Mr. Couch, I'm happy to see you again. You've spoke at our GBRA many times. Mr. Peters, thank you. I know your family. I just want to make sure that this board understands what 17B means. You're supposed to be following that. You can call us whatever you want, but we will be back, and we'll try to be adults.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Next speaker, please. I think we have one more coming down. I think.
My name is George Garcia, Garcia, George.
Thank you.
I left a message with Ms. Perez on her secretary, the ideas that I came up with, and we should have paddings, helmets at the skating rings. You know, there's an issue when I was in the hospital.
Sir, we're going to get to public comment for the PM session, and then you can come speak with your matter. But right now, this is going to be public comment on our election items only.
Oh.
So as soon as we're finished with this item, then you can come address the board, and I'll call you up.
Okay.
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 Thank you. Okay, so last call for public comment on the elections items. Please come forward. Well, we're not doing questions from the audience. We're not doing, well, you can pose questions during your public comment period, which you've already done, and staff can address them or our board members can address them. Well, I'm sorry, but any questions you have, you can come see me after the meeting. I'm happy to sit down with you. Or you can email the whole board. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, but right now, this is our last call for public comment on the 2 election items. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for comments and questions. And I'll kick it off if no one wants to. Okay. Oh, yeah. Before I go to board, Amy, did you want to answer any of the questions that you were taking notes on, or do you want us to start? There were a few raised right now.
Yeah, I took lots of notes, so I might take a second. But starting off, I just want to mention that I've been a public servant here in Kern County for 17 years. And throughout that time, my integrity has never been questioned. And I want to assure your board and the people of Kern County, if I was aware of fraud in the elections division, whether it be Dominion or a staff person or anything else, I would be the first person to bring it forward and to make sure that it was dealt with swiftly. That being said, I do want to, the hand counts in other countries has come up a lot. I just want to mention, I focus on Kern County, here in Kern County. I don't know what the laws in these other countries are. I don't know what their ballots look like, and I'm not going to presume to be an expert in any other country or county or state for that matter. There was a poll that was done. Someone mentioned that there were 1,000 respondents to a poll by KGET, and that 80% supported not continuing with Dominion. I just did a quick calculation, and 80% of 1,000 is 800. We have almost 440,000 registered voters in Kern County. That 800 represents less than 0.2% of the registered voters in Kern County. I wanted to clarify that ballots are not sent to people who are not legitimately registered voters. Someone made a comment that when we do signature checking, that we have to have so many challenged signatures in order to move on with our process. That is absolutely untrue. Someone mentioned that we should have stronger ID requirements, and again, as mentioned in my presentation, that is a state issue. Neither myself or any of you have that authority to do that and be in line with state law. Just to clarify, extending the contract for 3 years, that was my idea. And I did explain it, the justification in my presentation. It is to cover us in the next 3 years, is to cover a mock election, which, again, I mentioned that we do have new staff, and it allows my office to improve processes in the election. To not conduct a mock election basically puts my process improvement, we come to a screeching halt. To go to RFP right now, as some suggest, and I don't even know if that's the suggestion, because I also hear a lot of hand counting paper ballots, which having been in the process of counting the ballots and seeing what that process is, I could never in my right mind propose that, because it's just something that is not feasible here, and we continue to grow. There's no other county who does hand counting of ballots. It's just not something that is feasible.
While you have it, while you're looking at, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had a question.
No, you're fine.
Okay. On that RFP issue, that's an important issue for me. How long, in what year have we been using Dominion? When did we start that?
We purchased our current system in 2016, and in 2015, we actually were part of a pilot program. The Secretary of State was looking to certify this particular voting system, and we agreed to be a pilot county. We were on the larger side of California counties, and so we ran through the November, I believe it was I don't think it was the 2016. I have that information in one of the board letters, but we were a pilot county. And then in 2016, once the state certified, we did go sole source. We came sole source to the board, and that's because Dominion was the only certified system in California.
Okay. Well, in terms of contractual usage, that's not a long time period, 7 years. So I think at some point in the future, it behooves all of us, irrespective of the contract in question, because we don't want evergreens, to go out and test the market. What is the best value? What is the best technology? What is the best product for our needs? And you as our elected official will come back to us at that juncture when you think it's time to go out, and we'll have a robust RFP process, test the market, and see where Kern County can get its best value. Maybe there's a different vendor, maybe it's the same, I don't know. But we have to follow that process in terms of timing. So thank you for your explanation on that RFP. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you were done, I'll go ahead and take over. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, the audience, for your comments, your engagement. We are listening, despite what some folks are saying. They're not master face readers. I have listened intently. I'm not smirking, despite having me and Perez called out for suspicious facial expressions. That's just not me. I'm attentive, and this is serious business. So I appreciate your presentation. I appreciate the thoroughness. This is not something that we should rush through. And you came back to us with not only the context, the legal context, with the state versus the county, but what I really appreciate is your organizational improvements. And you talked about a lot, and we need a lot. Because, as a member of the public, as a candidate, as elected, from a critical standpoint, we do need work. We need organizational improvement. We can do better. We can be more timely without sacrificing accuracy. I don't want to be the last county in the state to certify. I don't want to be the last ones to update. I want to be one of the quicker ones, one of the better ones, so we can better serve the public, that we're not waiting for 30 days. And I understand the increase in population. I understand the increase in vote by mail ballots. So I do realize that it's going to take some time. The days of instantaneous results, we don't have that right now, and I get that. But organizational improvement is critical to me as a supervisor. And I believe that Mr. Hartley brought up some great comments about cleaning up the voter rolls. There was a lot of comments on that. I agree, I share that. There's too many people on there, too many excess ballots. People do die, people do move. And I understand the Secretary of State is in charge of cleaning that up. But there have been legal decisions out of Los Angeles where the county registrar of voters can indeed clean them up on a regular basis. And I defer to you what you think is the optimal legal interval. But I think that we should take some ownership of that, because I don't have a lot of confidence in the state cleaning them up for us. Actually, it was LA County versus Judicial Watch in 2019 that election clerks can and should clean voter rolls to more accurately and set rules of purging of the voter rolls. So I think it's a reasonable idea. It's a reasonable starting point that if you can incorporate in that wonderful toolkit you have of improvement, I would welcome that and see if we can do a better job on that. Also, you talked about training and consultants. I'm fully supportive of hiring the best in the business in terms of an efficiency consultant to help our ROV with training, to update in best practices, Whatever you need from us to go to other comparative counties, you mentioned going to Orange County, you mentioned other counties. Let's look at those best practices. Let's incorporate them here. And I know that we lost a lot of experience, and that's a big issue, and it hurt, and we felt it. We felt those growing pains of having to start over. Also, given the complexity of running elections in 2023 and past, that we need to do a better job internally in terms of succession planning, because people are going to leave again. You're building all this institutional knowledge from scratch. So let's chart a course. I mean, I defer to you. You're the elected. This is just a suggestion. So we have a plan in place. So when these retirements go, or if we have an exodus, that we're cross-trained, that people can pick up the pieces and serve and know. Also, as a user, staff needs a lot of work. I go to the counter. Other people go to the counter. They get an answer one day. The next day it changes. And that affects campaigns, that affects confidence. This is different than Dominion, but there's fines associated with that. The County Kern Elections Department is the clearinghouse for certain forms that have to be submitted to the state. And when those aren't submitted, and I know by experience, because it happened to me, it happened to my predecessor. Just this week I had an elections letter from the FPPC that I'm going to get fined for something that they don't have, and I know I submitted it. So I want to work on the minutia of the people at the front desk, that they're well trained, that we get a consistent answer across the board, and that's good for the department, that's good for the public, that helps with voter confidence, it helps with me as an elected, and so I just want to bring that to your attention. Lastly, the transparency on the website, I think that's a great idea. If we can update those results quicker, and I saw a change this election cycle where we did that, and it relieved a lot of the pressure. So I appreciate that, I appreciate where you're going. I like your solutions in terms of technology, space, whatever you need in terms of space, let us know. And I'm totally committed to finding the space. We're a big county with a lot of assets and a lot of square footage. We can find the space that's needed to conduct a good election. Also with your sorter, with your side box for equipment. The surveillance I thought was an excellent idea in terms of those voter boxes. Whatever you need in terms of cameras, safety, because people do have integrity questions. I have them, and we would all benefit from another eye in that regard. So I appreciate your Lean Six suggestion and your staffing plan. Just keep our board engaged, and the budget cycle's coming up. So make a big wish list, make it big, and then we can go and deliberate and take our county to where it needs to go, that we can conduct the best elections department in the Central Valley and just move up from here. So thank you for your presentation, and I look forward to working on those common goals. Supervisor Perez, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to state, I think it could be helpful, though I don't think it'll change anybody's mind here about anything fundamental. I did want to let you know that the KGET polling is anything but scientific. An individual can call in limitless amount of times and get a limitless amount of votes in any particular direction. That is not an accurate polling system by any stretch of the imagination. And it's really unfortunate that it's put out there and communicated as if it is, because you have people here saying 80% of Kern County is not okay with this, when it simply could be true, but certainly we don't know by that polling. And I wanted you to know that you yourselves probably organize some people to make those calls, is going to be my guess. So I think you know the way the system works, or some people do, but for those who don't, that's the way it works. So just FYI.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Perez, I was going to point out that's an open access poll versus a scientific poll. It's like, when you vote for the players you want on the all-star team, the big market teams get most of the players because they have more fans that are calling in and vote, or going online or whatever and voting. But that was, I think, a good point, and I think it is, to some extent, I think the public is a little bit unclear on how those polls are conducted, perhaps. I want to thank everyone who came out this morning and today. Obviously, you are very passionate about this issue. I share so many of your frustrations that were expressed, but I will tell you that those, in my mind, fall in the category of what the federal government or the state government, their rules and regulations, when in regards to elections, force us to do that we don't necessarily agree with here in Kern County. Things like showing ID to vote. The mail ballots going out to everyone, et cetera. Those are all things that cause people frustration. They're different, particularly the mail ballots, very much different than what a lot of us grew up with, which was election day. Now it's election month, or months, truly, because you have all the time before the election, and then you have all the counting that occurs for about 3 weeks afterwards. And so it is a different world, and it's something that we're all having to adjust with, especially post-COVID, when some of these new rules were codified and now seem like they're going to be permanent. Ms. Espinoza, I want to thank you for your presentation. I know it was long, and that can be a little frustrating for some folks, but there was so much in there that I think was good refreshers for people as far as information. I'll speak for myself, as well as things that folks didn't know. But I was very much interested in the areas where you talked about the needs that you foresee in order to get your department to where you envision it to be, and to instill public trust, to have that transparency that we all expect and deserve from government. And so I'm going to imagine that you've had some conversations with the CAO's office in regards to some of these items. Mr. Alsop, when we're talking about the staffing needs and the equipment needs, can you explain for the public can you explain for the public what's that process going to look like as we move forward, working with Ms. Espinoza's department that she's been elected to lead by the voters of Kern County in regards to the staffing that she's identified and the equipment needs, space needs, et cetera?
Yeah, Chairman or Supervisor Scrivener to the chair, we will work with Ms. Espinoza and her department the same way we do with all departments, very closely to do what we can to ensure their success and to ensure they're successful in accomplishing their goals and objectives, and that goes for Ms. Espinoza. So we'll commit to your board to do just that in the weeks and months ahead. Thank you.
I heard a lot of calls from folks that spoke today about why renew now, let's delay this, et cetera. So, Ms. Espinoza, can you just drill down a little bit more on the need to, in your recommendation for us to renew this contract now, part of it's retro, part moving forward, specifically with the mock election and how that will work and how you see that helping you to identify changes that need to be made in your department, best practices, et cetera?
Sure. So back in 2019, when I started as the Assistant Auditor Controller, Registrar of Voters, it was always our intent to do a mock election. And the purpose of a mock election is for those newer staff and myself as well to go through when we're not in crunch time and really look at the processes. What are we doing? Should we be doing this? Can we improve our procedures so that we really get a fine-tuned election process? That's our goal. When I started, there was a lot of overtime that was worked by staff, and we looked at that and said, okay, is that necessary? Let's look at those processes. Where can we improve that? Because we had people working 12 to 14-hour days, 7 days a week, which is it's a lot. And I don't think that it's the most efficient use of our staff. And so a mock election allows that, for us to go through the process again, not in crunch time, to look at each process from the beginning, through that logic and accuracy testing, through getting the system up and ready to run, as Pearson had mentioned earlier, just testing the system prior to an election, processing that election all the way through the sorter and the ballots, everything. It's a mini little election. And then looking at that reporting afterwards. It allows my staff to become more familiar with the system that we're using, more familiar with our processes. It allows for some cross-training. Again, during crunch time, we don't have time to cross-train. And with limited staff, it's essential that we have staff that are cross-trained. In case we have a hole in one area, then we have other staff who can assist. So by not doing a mock election this year, it just kind of keeps us where we're at as far as efficiencies going into the 2024 election cycle, which I believe we should want to be the most efficient we can absolutely be. After 2020, we're gearing up for 2024. I don't know that that we're going to sail through it. I don't think we are. So we want to make sure that we have that transparency. And a lot of the things that were in my plans to do, even a website. If I'm having to write an RFP and go through that process and then implement a system by August, most of the other items that I had on my suggestions or my plans, I don't see how we can get that done.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for having Pearson Jr. Mr. Ju, thank you for providing your analysis and expertise. I want to ask you a little bit about the voting machines, the Dominion machines, and these concerns that have been expressed about them being able to be hacked, to be compromised, and I think what this is kind of coming down to is, do we do all hand count ballots and or do we use machines with that 1% sample that's hand counted to check for accuracy per state law, correct? So that's do we do all hand counts? And Ms. Espinoza has laid out what she foresees as the costs associated with doing that, how many staff it would take, extrapolating that from the 1% sampling, how many staff members it takes in order to do the 1%, the costs associated with it, I think conclusions that it would be less accurate perhaps than the machine counts, et cetera, versus going to using the machines, and how do we ensure that these machines can't be breached, et cetera. And so from what I was hearing from that presentation is they're not connected in any way to the internet, et cetera. And so listen, I didn't interrupt anyone when they were speaking, and so I would really ask for the same consideration. Thank you. And so can you talk about that, the ability for them to be compromised? What are they hooked up to? Are they hooked up to anything where someone either remotely or hardwired would be able to breach them?
Absolutely. Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair. I've been working with the election since 2002. I began working on the original systems, the Data General, and also the Premier system as Kern County transitioned to that new system. As part of our mandates for security, we actually, within the ballot tabulation room, we actually literally gutted out every single network connection that was connected to that room. So externally, there are no connections to that room. What we actually did was we built out additional networking and infrastructure within the room so that that entire environment is in a closed circuit network. Really, to be able to access the server and its data, you have to physically be in that room and connect a device to that specific network. There are no external connections. Within that room, we also have security cameras, and we have alarm systems, and we have security badge access systems that control access in and out of the room. In addition to the systematic controls, we actually have, or the elections division has, policies and procedures in respect to dual custody, where there's always 2 trained election staff members in that room at any time. There are also procedures to actually log ingress and egress for staff in that room, and that actually also details the reasons why they're actually entering that room. So in terms of the physical security, again, as I stated at the beginning of my presentation, there is no system that is 100% secure. I think we can all attest to that. But having known that and understanding the risks, it is our responsibility to build out those mitigating controls to put guardrails around those systems and environments where we know there to be risks. So what that does is it minimizes the risk for the systems where we know that there are potential risks.
And how do you think that 1% sample that you take and we hand count to determine if there are any discrepancies, how do you think that helps to ensure that nothing had happened in any particular race or during any particular election?
Sure. Supervisor Scrivener, through the chair, there's multiple policies and procedures to actually safeguard that process. Prior to election, as I stated before in my presentation, there's a public audit, and that's a random sample of ballot tabulation units or ballot marking devices where the public is invited to participate in, where they can actually mark ballots, and so they can actually anticipate the result, where they actually do a manual tally of the ballots that are submitted for testing. Once that's done, there's a manual tabulation, the reports are generated, and then the system is also used to actually process those same ballots. If those two results, and only when those two results match, then there is a public acknowledgement of that the results are validated between the two types of reporting. In terms of 100% manual count, there's a tremendous lift in terms of time, in terms of resources. I think when we run the 1% audits post-election, there's generally, it serves to say that whatever was tallied during the election on the tabulation devices, there's a separate manual process that the public can observe, and traditionally they do observe it. And once those results are tabulated manually and by the system, those results generally agree. If there are any variations, those ballots are identified, and generally that's in terms of voter intent, where maybe there was a hesitation mark, or there was duplicate markings on the ballot where one is 25% shaded, one is 75% shaded. So there's different reasons for variations, different interpretations as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you, Chairman Flores. First off, I wanted to thank you, Amy and Pearson, for your presentations. They were very detailed, but there's been a lot of discussion in this chamber and out in public since the last election, especially when we first started having these conversations. And I think you did a good job of trying to answer some of the questions that were brought up, or at least address them in that presentation. So thank you very much for that. There were a couple of things that were brought up that I would like to get a little clarification on. And multiple times people had alleged that 169 dead people had cast a vote in this past election. Can you address that at all? Do you have any evidence of that happening, or what's going on with that?
Excuse me. No, I'd have to go back and look at that. But, there's also, if someone receives their ballot, their mail-in ballot, and they vote their ballot, and they pass away between the date they received their ballot or cast their ballot and election day, their vote is still valid. And so those are counted. When the information comes in from the Department of Public Health, we get the death notices, and the voter rolls are updated to reflect those changes.
Understood. Thank you. And I know you've explained this multiple times, but I don't think it was addressed today in your presentation. But earlier, somebody had mentioned there were, I don't remember how many, a number of people that had a birth date listed of January 1st, 1900. Could you explain why that is?
Yes. So our current election management system, when we first started using it, some of our voters, they had registered to vote before a birthday was required. And so we've been going through to look at those and reach out to those voters to get that updated, just so we have accurate records.
So it just defaults to January 1st, 1900 if they don't have a birth date submitted previously?
Correct. The ones that were kind of brought in, because
Gotcha.
since then, a birth date is required.
Okay. I think my next questions are probably for county council, but I understand, people, we've talked about the rules of the state of California, and as I've mentioned before in meetings, there are a lot of rules and laws in the state of California that I don't like, I disagree with, but it's my understanding that this board, if we do anything that's in violation of state law, it doesn't even matter. It's null and void. It's like it never happened. And people have said, you can become a charter county and you can invoke, there were a couple other things, I can't remember what exactly, but that doesn't mean, number one, that we don't have to follow state laws if we become a charter county. And number two, that's not something we can just decide to do. I think that even has to go through legislature. Do you have any comments on that? Or is what I've said accurate?
Supervisor Peters, through the chair, you are correct. We are bound to follow the state laws unless and until those laws are changed through the legislature, or if you go through the process to become a charter county. There's still certain laws you would have to follow, but you have more. You may be able to create some laws for the charter as well. But until that's done, you're bound by the laws of the state.
Okay, thank you. I believe, Ms. Espinoza, you addressed this earlier, but I missed it in my notes if I did take it down. What California counties currently do elections strictly by hand?
None.
None. So my understanding is that there's, I think, 3 systems that are authorized to be used in the state of California?
Correct. There are 3, and then there's Los Angeles, who has their own system, so I usually kind of take them out of the mix. But there is Dominion, there is HART, and there's ES&S.
Okay. Let me look through these notes real quick. So as we were talking about the 1% audit, I understand that that's what we're required to do. Would it be possible, I know that this board can't direct your department on how to conduct elections processes, but is that something that you would be open to, is having another firm or an outside independent party or figuring out some way of increasing the number of votes that are audited? I don't know what that would look like, but maybe 5% or 10%, maybe I don't know what that number is, but just something that has a broader sampling that gives us a little bit more confidence in these results.
Yeah, so the 1% obviously is mandated by the state. I'm not opposed to looking at possibly doing more, but we would definitely have to increase our efficiency during that 30-day window, because I have to certify to the state within that 30 days. And as we're talking about the lengthy canvass process, adding additional precincts to be manually tallied is going to lengthen that right up until the last day, potentially. One thing, if I may, I do want to just point out that in this last, the 1% manual tally, it is completely random. We literally have tubs with ping pong balls that have numbers on them, and we have people select. We have for each of the digits, the ones, the tens, the hundreds, etc. You reach your hand in, you pull one out, that's your first number. You reach your hand in, you pull one out. It is completely random, and I know that there have been some observers who have seen that process. But back to the 1%, in this last election, we found 11 races that we had to go back and recount because the hand count did not match what the machine said. In each of those instances, once they counted again for those races, the variance was due to human error, and the tallying of our voting system was confirmed.
Got it. So all this, though, what I'm hearing today boils down to trust. There's not a lot of trust in Dominion right now. As we talked about, you're new on the job. You've been on the job 58 days. I think you're doing fantastic so far. I think you've been responsive. I think you're building a great plan for how to move forward in the future. And I don't want to interfere with that, but I also understand the issues that are being brought up. I don't think that there's anything inappropriate that's gone on in our county elections department. I think our own internal processes, as we've talked about, could be improved, and as we said, you're working on that. But if we were to, I believe your calculations in here about what it would take to do a entire manual tally of the votes, but with that being accurate, I'm not seeing any way to do it besides with machines. And if we were to look at using a different machine, going out to an RFP, do you have an idea, just ballpark, on how long that process would take?
Well, some RFPs that I've been a part of, it takes maybe a month to actually write the RFP, get it through council, send it out. We have to have enough time for vendors to actually respond. And actually with 3 vendors, I don't even know if we would go out to RFP. We'd have to ask purchasing, or if we just reach out to each of the vendors and see what they have to offer. One of the things I just want to point out, Supervisor Peters, is that the comments that I was hearing today, while they are specifically made against Dominion, they are also made against all tabulating voting systems. They want, what I've heard is the issue is going back to hand counting. So if we go through an RFP, spend that time, spend that money, put my office at a halt for making progress, we're still in the same boat because the next round of machines are not going to be trusted.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have for right now.
Thank you, Supervisor Peters. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go as quick as I can. I know people are, it's late in the day. Before I get started, though, Mr. Robles, you've been standing there for a while. Could I ask the chairman if he would indulge you if you have a question or comment before I get started?
I have a comment on your process here. I find it very, very disconcerting that you all are giving each other unlimited mulligans, and us protesters, we got what? One whiff at the ball? There are so many holes in the arguments that I am hearing here. And sir, not to be disrespectful, but I am bad of hearing. How do you pronounce your name?
Jew.
Jew?
First name is Pearson, last name is Jew.
Okay, thank you, sir. Your comments alone, there was a whole panoply of comments here that all have holes in their argument, but you won't allow the people that can point them out to come forward. Now you, sir, you know better. You know that if a machine has blue tooth, if it has wireless, it doesn't need a connected plug. If it has USB, anybody with a flash drive can insert anything, upload anything, download anything, do both, and they can hide what they are doing. And you, ma'am, when you mentioned, all of you talked about the 800 people or the 80% people that called in that one channel. You know that statistics have just a limited application. And comparing the 800 that called in to that channel to the whole universe of voters in this county, what misses the whole argument. What they got at that channel.
Mr. Robles.
Mr. Robles.
This goes back to Supervisor Couch.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I wanted to give you a moment to make some comments, but
to cut it short.
Yes, sir.
I think your process here is just so unfair that you have not given the protesters an adequate time to address what you're passing around back and forth like a football.
Thank you, sir. I can understand the frustration. David, I don't want to get this started because once I thought I would do that for Mr. Robles. I'm sorry.
15 seconds.
David, we're gonna
Cut me off.
the public comment period was closed. I wanted to do that for Mr. Robles because he had been standing there, and I thought he had something substantive to contribute.
Substantive to say. One thing.
David, David,
Public comments over, because now we're queuing up.
Now there's somebody lining up next to you.
Okay, no.
It's not.
Okay, Ms. Supervisor Couch.
I did not mean to open a can of worms there.
You're a member, and if you want someone to speak, I allowed you to have them speak. But
Okay.
good.
Let me go quickly. You mentioned, I'm going to talk about some things that maybe others haven't yet. You mentioned we're not a vote center county, correct? Describe for the people that don't know what that is, and is that under consideration?
Thank you. So first of all, vote center county is, I believe it's one vote center for every 40,000 voters, and you set those up throughout the county. They require, we would be required to keep those open for 10 days prior to the election. And what that means for Kern County is that we're taking poll sites out of neighborhoods. We're taking poll sites out of the local churches. We are not a vote center county. It is something that I will start to look at, Supervisor Couch, just because the state may go that way. So we need to have a game plan if and when the state comes down on that. But until we have to, I have no intention of going to a vote center county.
I'm sure, thank you for that. I think, and I would encourage you, I know you will, but I would encourage you to stick with that position. In my mind, every rule or every law that the state makes it easier for someone to cheat. And that's an example. But I want to ask you a little bit about the drop boxes and the security. I think you said almost every place we have a drop box is a government building, a library, or what have you. So I would encourage you, it should be easy for us to get surveillance cameras at all of those facilities. Number one. But number two, what are we looking for? Because if ballot harvesting is legal and somebody rides up on a bicycle and dumps 100 ballots in the box, he hasn't done anything wrong, according to the state of California. So what are we looking for with our surveillance?
Maybe if someone is tampering,
box?
yes. And I think also just public perception of having those cameras on the drop boxes, I think would help perhaps appease some of the concerns.
But nobody's going to report anybody. If you see somebody on the film, the recording, that shows up and walks up with multiple ballots and puts them in the box, you're not going to report that to anybody because that's technically not illegal in California.
Correct.
I get it. That's you. What would you report?
Suspicious activity.
Thank you all for your help right now. What's the cost of the average recount, like the one they did for this? I know it's different depending on the race, but take the Senate district, roughly, round numbers. It doesn't have to be good.
It was just under 100,000 for both of the requests.
And that was for how many precincts did they request to have?
So the first request was for 75, I believe, 70 or 75. The second was for 150 precincts, yes.
So was it literally roughly double the cost if you double the precincts?
Yes.
Okay. I think in my mind, Lean Six Sigma is counting ballots, sorting ballots is the perfect project for a Lean Six Sigma. So I really hope you do that. I think your mock election is a great idea. I agree with everyone here. Mr. Robles isn't going to like that I'm going to say this, but I think you're off to a good start, and I appreciate the attitude that you are displaying and you're representing to people.
Thank you.
And being open to them and listening. I want to talk to Mr. Jew for a second. Talk to us, go over that again with me, what I just heard you say, that the room, is it where the sorter is or the counter?
The ballot
tabulator.
Yes, ballot tabulator.
There's
yes,
no, and this is your professional opinion, there's no internet connection available to that machine from anything in the wall.
Absolutely correct.
The only way there would be any connection to it is if it had a wireless modem.
Correct.
To your knowledge, it doesn't have a wireless modem.
The server itself does not. The tabulation, the high-speed tabulators do not. The devices, as you saw in one of the pictures from Ms. Espinoza, those systems actually do have wireless network cards, but those are disabled administratively. Those are all part of the process, administrative process, in terms of the pre-election security of the end-to-end system, that those are disabled. Again, those systems require multi-factor authentication, where you actually require a username and a password, elevated rights, and also a security token to access that network to manage the configuration.
Can you tell if that happens?
Absolutely. So as part of the certification of all voting machines, there is auditable security logs that can be reviewed.
So do you have to certify anything or attest to any accuracy or with regard to the machines?
Currently,
to Ms. Espinoza.
Currently,
or
no.
To
There's,
anyone.
yeah, there's well, technically, I actually work for the Kern County Information Technology Services Division. So the tabulators are managed by Kern County Elections IT staff. Currently, I do not certify that information to Ms. Espinoza. In terms of the configuration, my understanding is that as part of the pre-election certification of all the units, there is a readiness testing that I mentioned earlier, whereby there is a list of all checkboxes and items that need to be identified, reviewed, and configured on each voting system, including the server, including the the ballot marking devices, including the ICXs, to certify that those are ready for election. Those guidelines are provided by the California Secretary of State in their specific system use procedures, and that information is available on the California Secretary of State's website.
But I'm more interested in your attestation that the counting of the ballots was done without any access to the internet. Would you be able to provide that?
I currently do not, but we can. It is possible.
You could confidently attest to Ms. Espinoza that the ballot counting, the machines during the ballot counting, ballot tabulators, I want to use the right word, were not connected to the internet.
I believe so.
Would you?
Yes, I could attest to that.
Okay. Ms. Espinoza, would you be willing to work out something with Mr. Jew where, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what form it would take, but it would help me. I would feel better about that, the whole process. If we had, maybe you would too, I don't know. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, and if that's something that we add to our process is more from an internal perspective, just as another, again, checkbox, confirmation, to help with voter confidence that attestation was made, I'm absolutely open to that 100%.
Okay, I appreciate that. I want to make one more comment, and a lot of things get said. One thing that was said here today was that none of us showed up for the February 20th, 21st meeting. I did not. I was not there. I had something else I had to do, or I would have liked to have been there. But what wasn't mentioned was that I spent 2 hours with the previous speaker a month ago. I've forgotten his name, David something. I spent 2 hours one-on-one with him. Now, that didn't get mentioned today. So people were left with the impression that all of us up here, every one of us doesn't care enough to show up to a meeting, even though we were given just a few days' notice. But we might have spent a great deal more time earlier on the same subject with a different individual. I wish we would just have a little bit more open and honest and transparent commentating on all sides when it comes to this issue. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. I will be more brief than Supervisor Couch promised to be. I'll tell you. I'm kidding. No, you guys really did a great job of expressing who the county is and who we are always striving to be. Ms. Espinoza, I think you did a great job of that today. You seem to be fair to me. I've talked to lots of folks that have reached out to you and have access to you. I assume that's true of these folks that would like to see change. I can only assume it's true unless I hear otherwise. I'm going to assume that you are as accessible to them as you are to everyone else. I believe that about you, and it's exciting really to see the brain trust of this body come together like it has today, because I'm reminded of how much knowledge and expertise really is here. And I appreciate you, Zach, following up on the remark about the poll, because while I didn't want to throw you under the bus, you actually taught me about that, if you recall. You're a very knowledgeable person, and you, I appreciate that you taught me that. So thank you for the follow-up there. Not to make aspersions or to make these issues more divisive than they already are, apparently. But dealing with information as it actually is very important. Dealing with the truth and what we know that we can prove and demonstrate in here. I don't know what's happening in counties across the country. There are 3,069 counties in 50 different nation states with different governors, with different personal evolutions, different economies. This is a vast, vast state. It's very complex. There is no perfection anywhere. As it relates to Kern County, this is our community, these are our neighbors, these are my colleagues, and we have to base what we're doing on some level of normalcy. Otherwise, anything goes, and none of us will benefit from that. So thank you for the passionate discourse today. I think we gained a lot, I've learned a lot, and I look forward to perfecting these processes and learning more about how we make them more trustworthy moving forward. With that said, I would like to make a motion on staff's recommendation to proceed with the 3-year contract, and I look forward again to the continued dialogue and to the next steps of improvement.
Oh, sorry. Oh, thank you.
That was a very subtle hit.
No.
Non-subtle hit, Chairman.
I pressed the wrong button.
Just kidding. Thank you, Chairman. I'm
For those
done.
that don't know, it looks like NASA back here. And Supervisor Peters, did you have a comment after Supervisor Perez? My apologies, Supervisor Perez.
Thank you.
You can do that all along.
I didn't know. I don't know, President.
With all due respect to Supervisor Perez, I appreciate the motion. I'm kind of hesitant to do this because we've already brought this back for several months. But if there is more, anything on either side that somebody wants to share, I am going to make a motion that we table this until our next meeting, just to have a chance that we get all that information sent to us, and we don't have another day that it's a whole long drawn out thing. It just gives us another month, or a couple weeks rather, to review whatever that information is, and then make the decision then.
Okay, so do we have a second on Supervisor Peters' motion?
I'm sorry, does that
Well, we had one motion.
remind me what happens here when you have two motions?
Well, I think
versus
the most
two?
recent motion, we can take the most recent motion up. So we had a motion from Supervisor Perez for staff's recommendation. Then we have a subsequent motion from Supervisor Peters. So I'm entertaining a motion at this time for a second on Supervisor Peters' motion.
I will second that.
Okay. So members, cast your vote.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. I have a question. So I want to get this clear. So the motion is for us to continue the discussion of whether or not we approve this 3-year contract on Dominion for what, 2 weeks?
Until our next meeting.
Our next meeting, that's on, what's that, March 14th?
14th.
Yes.
And so I'm curious as to what the purpose of that is. To take more testimony? To is there some evidence of some issues with the machines that you're looking for?
I'm just hearing that there's more that that the people here have to share with us. So I would be open to having them call, email, whatever it is. I know, like I said, we've had 2 months already since we've been talking about this, that it could have been done. But if there is more, I don't mind spending the extra 2 weeks to get that sent over, and then we can make our decision then. But that's just my recommendation.
I respect that, and thank you, Supervisor Peters, for helping to explain. I have been receiving information on this subject for, it seems like, about a year. Truly, and I don't know if that may be somewhat of an exaggeration, but I don't think it is by too many months. I think that Ms. Espinoza has presented a very thorough presentation outlining her plans to improve things at the elections office. I think that it comes down to whether or not we choose to use a machine to count the votes, or if we do if we count by hand. And I think that counting by hand seems to me extremely problematic from a fiscal standpoint as well as an accuracy standpoint. And so with all due respect, I'm not going to support a continuance of this item. I think it's time for us to make a decision.
Thank you. But right now, this is board deliberation. So board let's deliberate. Did we have a second on Supervisor
Couch second.
Okay, so let's handle this motion first. So this is a motion for Supervisor Peters to continue the item to March 14th. Did I get that accurately? Mr. Supervisor Peters?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so members cast your vote.
Oh, wait a minute. We're going to have to revote.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mine was accurate, just so you know.
This is on the Peters motion. Then we'll take it Perez's.
Okay, the vote does not pass. 2 ayes, Supervisor Couch, Supervisor Peters, 3 noes, Supervisor Flores, Supervisor Perez, Supervisor Scrivener.
Okay, so at this time, just to clarify, this is the motion of Supervisor Perez to do the concurrent motions for receive and file of the presentation on elections as well as the contract extension. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Members, cast your vote.
May I ask one question before we vote? Ms. Espinoza, I know you brought this forward previously, and it was, I think I asked to delay it back then, and now you're here today. Are you up against some time constraint?
As I mentioned, up against a mock election, we are working with Information Technology Services to find a time frame that we can actually conduct a mock election. And then we are up against our time frame for the 2023 primary to begin, which is August, September of 2023.
Thank you. I probably should ask this before, but would Supervisor Peters, had his motion passed, would it have created any big problem for you?
It just pushes out this item that, with all due respect, as Supervisor Scrivener mentioned, this has been coming before the board, even with Mary Bedard. It's been coming forward, and during that time, as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been evidence. So I don't know, with all due respect, Supervisor Peters, what 2 more weeks is going to provide your board with evidence.
I understood your motion to be you wanted to provide that 2 weeks, so you might hear some additional evidence that might make a difference to you. Correct? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, okay, thank you. So we have a motion on motion from Supervisor Perez, second from Supervisor Scrivener. At this time, members cast your vote.
I did.
Yeah, members cast your vote. This is for your 2 items.
The motion is approved. 3 ayes, 2 noes, Supervisor Couch opposed, Supervisor Peters opposed.
Okay, thank you. That item is done. Now we're going back to PM session, public comment. Give people a chance to clear the room. Okay, this is public presentations, PM session. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. The board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, may make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Proceed.
Yes, my name is Esther Rivera.
Hi, Esther.
Have been communicating with the Bakersfield Police Department. I have written 2 emails. I wrote 2 letters. I have gone to the BPD and I gave information. I have a neighbor who's selling drugs. The traffic is day and night. It's sad because she's got two children, and nothing has been done. And this is going on a year now. And either, I don't know why we're being ignored, but I see it all the time. People come, park their car, they go to the door, they give them their stuff, and they take off. So I don't know if I'm addressing the right people, you guys.
Do you live in the city of Bakersfield or the county?
Yes, here in Bakersfield.
Okay, you're dealing with the BPD's office?
The what?
Bakersfield Police Department?
Yes.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am?
I don't really want to give it right now.
Tell you what, if you go to our CEO, Mr. Ryan Alsop, his hand is waved up in the air. If you share your information, he can route it to your appropriate supervisor, and that supervisor will provide your assistance, and we'll tease out these jurisdictional issues and try to get you help for your neighborhood, okay, and help with those safety issues. And I appreciate you coming before the board, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Ms.
much.
Rivera.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
David Hartley, regarding the vote that was just taken, I'll wait till everybody's ready to listen.
Sure.
Can you start my time again?
Yeah,
Everybody
we'll
was taking notes.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Start the time over. I'm just writing your name down.
I haven't even started yet.
Okay, let's start. Okay, ready. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 2 minutes is short enough, but what didn't get taken into consideration was her figures on the hand count. It works out to 32 minutes roughly per vote. There's no way. So what they did, they inflated the figures to make it look like a hand count was going to be much more expensive than it would actually be. That's number one. They're telling a story about the internet because they're not hooked up to the internet like our iPhones are. They have a special network. And how do you think that the Secretary of State can give election results and Fox Decision Desk and CNN can say, not enough in to call this one, but this one can be called because there is an internet. It's their own special network, goes to the Secretary of State's, the media and the Secretary of State get feed off of that. I'm surprised you guys weren't able to sort that out. And with only 2 minutes, there's only so much that we can get out. The last thing is, we should have had a public hearing scheduled where we could have brought some experts because these guys are biased. They're county. They're the government. We're here to help. Remember what Reagan said about that. You should be scared when your government says, I'm here to help. So we didn't have a hearing. We didn't get to present our own experts. I realized the one guy was an absolute kook, and I wouldn't want to listen to him either. But Dr. Frank, there's all kinds of experts we could have brought forward. Anyway, it's done. What's done is done. But it's super disappointing that we're got to put up with this for 3 years. And I don't think it's going to go over well with the community. I really don't. That was a huge mistake. And I've got 18 seconds left. And I'm going to take every second of it. If I have to stand here like some of those other clowns were doing and count it down, I'm going to take my time.
You take it. You take it.
Thank you.
I think Supervisor Perez might have a question for you, David.
Quickly, David, I think there's still time, not on this issue. We're moving forward, but this contract renewal is going to be up again soon. It will be. It'll be here faster than we can
3
imagine.
years.
But that's fast, and we can do public hearings. We can bring the right testimony in.
I can't schedule the public hearing, though.
I'm saying
You guys
it's a
have
great.
to.
I hear you, brother. I'm saying
If you guys give us the notice, we're going to give you the time to schedule a public hearing. and give us a month or 6 weeks to put it together. We can't put these things together when the email drops on a Thursday and the meeting's on a Tuesday. How do you
You're
bring
right.
in people, experts from all over the country on that short a notice?
You're right. I'm saying I will work with you to do a public hearing process over the next year or 2 years. I will devote all of my time and energy that you need
Very
to
good.
bring that evidence here. We will host I will host
Very
it myself as supervisor. I can do that. And let's have that conversation. It's not over.
That
okay?
still doesn't heal my saddle sores from just now, but
I understand.
I'll take you up on that.
Please do, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Paul Infesti again. I was hesitant to even bring this up, but since the site Rumble was brought up as a legitimate source for information, I want to say that there are several posters calling attention to something that just isn't true. So I just want to set the record straight as far as me is concerned. And they said they called me to be a very non-biased speaker coming up to the microphone, saying that I am a county employee. That is false. I've never worked for the county a day in my life. Number two, that because I was a county employee, my job here was to record the meetings, not to actually come up to the dais to speak. Again, I don't work for the county in any capacity. And third, that obviously this was wrong too, because I was on the clock with the county and paid by the taxpayers when I came up to speak. And 3 different people called me out on these so-called facts. So I'm saying that just because you see something on a website, information, doesn't make it absolutely true. Also, they claimed that I am a next-door neighbor of yours, Mr. Flores. I know that's not true. Close personal friend, I don't really know you very well, but I do remember the only time we've ever intersected, you were coming on the board of Children First campaign at the same time that I was exiting. Way back, I don't even remember how long ago that was, 10 years maybe at least, somewhere in there. And also, I may have walked, to be fully deal, I think I may have walked a precinct for you when you were running for the high school board with Andre Gonzalez and a group of several other people out in East Bakersfield as we were walking around the Baker area to hand out flyers for you. And that's the only connection I've ever had with you before. But I do think you're doing a good job. And I think today, and also Amy way surpassed my expectations as I did vote for her too. And she really showed she knew her stuff. So I want to thank both of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Linfesti. Next speaker.
Was this about my ID?
Yeah, now's the time. Now's the time. Come on up.
The variation of the issue that's been about.
Can you give me your name for the record? Oh, first and last.
George Garcia, Garcia, George.
Thank you.
The issue is about the voting. They should sign in and sign out as they're putting the ballot into the box. That would be a good issue there. Safety factors, what I'm trying to get to, the skating rings and the padding and the helmets and the skateboard parks, if they can issue, I know that it'd be a taxpayer, complication there, but also I have an idea during the summer, wave machines, like you see at the cruise liners, you've probably seen them. Basically, during the summer, that would be a fun sport, getting away from the issues of the boards and the skating rings and stuff like that. More of a hobby of bringing jobs to the surfboards and wetsuits and boogie boards and it would be costly, but it would be more of a family outing for everyone. Barbecues, sand castle contests, and there's just a variety of outgoing issues of family outings that we need to here in Bakersfield.
That's welcome. I wish it was summer.
I wish it was always summer at the beach.
Yeah, no kidding. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
George, if you wouldn't mind heading up to my office and talking to Laura, give her your contact information, because we have all kinds of community activities we're working on all the time. We always need help. We need ideas. So if you would go up and give your information and chat with her, I think there would be some synergy there, and we could do some good things in the community.
Yeah, I like I said, it'd be a tax
Thank you.
thing, but
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
I got more ideas. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
God bless all. Have a blessed weekend.
You too.
God bless you. 5th floor. Her name is Laura Melendez.
Next speaker, please.
Duetta Riley again to express total disappointment in the way this turned out today. But it's not over. Oh, it's not over. Q's coming. We just had to play our part. We had to do it. We had to ask you. We had to give you a chance. We had to get it public. We tried to wake everybody up, get everybody here, get involved. Take your country back because it's being stolen right out from under your eyes. But it's not over. Go look at Q. You can find Q at QANON.pub, and you can find out what's coming for you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Okay, I think that concludes public comment. Now we go to member comments. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know it's been a little bit of a long day, board members, and so I appreciate you indulging me a little bit, but there is an important situation I want to bring some attention to, and particularly bring attention to the efforts of our county employees that are addressing that. And what I'm speaking to is the storm damage and subsequent power outage and road closures that have been occurring in Pine Mountain Club. I know that we've had a lot of areas of Kern County that have been impacted by the storm, and so I don't want to minimize those impacts in other communities, but particularly Pine Mountain Club has been impacted, and they've been without power in parts of the community since early in the weekend. And a lot of that's been getting restored. And so I'd like to ask which is great news, but there are still issues. And so I'd like to ask our Fire Chief, Aaron Duncan, to come forward, and then he is going to hand it off to Scott Radzik with Public Works, our Assistant Director. Sam Lux couldn't be with us today, unfortunately. He's feeling a little under the weather. So Chief Duncan, thank you, and thanks for sticking it out with us today. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Chairman Flores, distinguished members of the board. I'm here today just to give you an update on where we stood after the storm we experienced last week and how it affected the County of Kern. I want to begin with all year long, my department and the Office of Emergency Services, speak about being prepared. We hold numerous events about being prepared. We want to get the word out that at any point in time, whether it be a wildfire, a flood, any type of weather event that we expect, and we want our people to be prepared. Last week, a winter storm warning was issued throughout the entirety of Kern County, and in some areas, an actual blizzard warning was issued, which is something we have not seen in this county in decades. Leading up to this weather event, our Kern County Office of Emergency Services staff worked with numerous department heads, your board, numerous city managers, and the local CSDs throughout the county. The fire department did numerous TV interviews, social media posts, just want to make sure we got the word out that we have a big event coming. And as you all saw, Highway 58, Highway 178, Interstate 5 opened and closed numerous times. Beginning on Saturday, February 25th, all fire stations did a survey of the county to see where we were the morning after the storm. With snow still on the ground, all stations looked at their areas and they reported that the county as a whole was holding up very well. But one area that we had that was showing significant signs of stress was the areas of Fraser Park and Pine Mountain Club. Power was out in many of those areas. Feet was up to 5 feet high of snow, and it was just causing a significant impact to those communities. At this point in time, though, I'd like to turn it over to our roads department. They can speak to the conditions of the roads, and then I'll come back.
Thank you, Chief.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. I have a few remarks I would like to make regarding the recent storm system and how the roads were affected. Public Works has been managing the current storm since February 21st, with the bulk of the storms from February 23rd through the 27th. We prepared these roads by staging equipment in critical locations throughout the county, ordering materials a week ahead in order to sand the roadways, cleaning out drainage systems leading up to the storms, and servicing our
heavy equipment to be ready to take on the harsh elements that were experienced these past few days. We have had a total of 66 public works maintenance workers, supervisors, and superintendents working these storms to keep the roads clear of hazards. Our Kernville road crew of 7 worked on clearing the roads in Alta Sierra, Wofford Heights, Kernville, Lake Isabella, and Mountain Mesa areas. The Mojave and Roseman road crew of 5 worked on clearing roads in Roseman, Mojave, and the backside of Tehachapi. The Tehachapi crew of 5 worked the outlying areas of Tehachapi plowing roads such as Highline, Tehachapi Willow Springs, and Tehachapi Boulevard. Our Lebec and Taft road crews of 7 worked 12-hour shifts to cover the storm from the 23rd through the 27th. The crews worked on plowing Fraser Mountain Park Road, Cuddy Valley Road, Mill Potrero Highway, and Hudson Ranch Road. Through all this work to keep the roads passable, the crew also escorted Southern California Edison to Pine Mountain Club to make the critical repairs necessary to fix the energy infrastructure that went down. One of our superintendents, Brian Carroll, who happens to be a very skilled operator, was tasked to operate our all-wheel drive motor grader to help plow roads within Pine Mountain Club for the residents and the utility companies while snow was coming down. It is estimated that he had to plow at least through 4 feet of snow in several locations throughout the area. Although the county did receive a lot of rain and snow, our crews stepped up to keep the roads clear and are still working to this day on plowing roads and addressing the localized flooding. Our staff has worked hard through these storms and will continue to help the community. I would like to give a couple special thank yous to the following staff members: Brandon Carroll, Daniel Valdez, Keith Parsons, Eduardo Lopez, Vidal Bravo, Ryan Rutledge, Jordan Walters, Cody Green, Kirk Oberg, and Alex Bedoya, who is our engineering manager over the entire group. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Resig, Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you. Well, first of all, I don't have any more questions for you. I want to tell you, I'm glad that you mentioned some of your staff by name. The chief and I, Chief Duncan, along with Sam Lux, our Public Works Director, we had several conference calls over the weekend. Which isn't unusual when you have an emergency situation. Everybody works to address the needs of the community. But just specifically, you had a situation in Pine Mountain Club where the power went out. I want to say it went out on early Friday morning, and the storms, I think, just the weight of the snow on the trees. It was more snow than the area had seen in a long, long time. So the weight of the storm knocked some trees down, had some branches come down, you can imagine, and so power lines went out. And so you had people up there where their propane heating systems, that's what they use to heat their homes, they're not on natural gas up there, or their pellet stoves, all those require electricity in order to work. And so when the power goes out, you're talking temperatures that are in the 20s. And so it was a really dire situation. It still remains to be a serious situation for a lot of people, but a lot of the power has been restored. But our folks with Public Works actually escorted SCE, Southern California Edison, up that hill and into those communities so they could get to those power lines because they had no way to get in there otherwise. And those roads in Pine Mountain, with the exception of Mill Potrero Highway, aren't county roads. But we were up there plowing those roads that are the HOA's roads because we recognized a need to help those folks get their power restored. And so that's what Kern County does. I mean, we really all came together between the fire department and Public Works and did everything that we possibly could and still are continuing to do everything that we can in order to address the situation up there. So I want to thank you, Chief Duncan. I want to thank Sam Lux and thank you, Mr. Ratzig, and all the folks within your 2 departments that did what they did. In order to help those folks. And just one last thing, the Verizon cell tower, the power went out to it, and so the generator kicks on. The generator was running out of fuel, and so Verizon came out, and not to call them out, but they didn't have the right vehicle to get up there. So our fire department guys, they went up there with gas cans and refueled that cell tower. Until it was able to get electrified again. And so thank you for everything you did. Supervisor Couch, did you put your hand up?
Well, I wanted to piggyback on that a little bit if you're concluded. I know you were very busy this weekend, as was our fire department and Public Works, but I wanted to give you some kudos on something that didn't happen. the work that you all have done in the Caliente Creek area. I drove up there Sunday, and there's a little bit of water in it, but it's not flowing down into Lamont. So sometimes when nothing bad happens, you don't get thanked for it. But I think with the storm that we had, and maybe are going to have today, it would be likely in the past that you would see some flooding in Lamont, and it's not happening right now. So I just want to thank you for the project that you all concluded or did a few years ago that's working. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 14 under County Administrative.
Chief, did you have something else you wanted to add? I think you said that you were going to come back up. I'm sorry. We don't want to cut you off. You probably want to give your folks some more accolades.
No,
if I didn't do it enough.
Yeah, you kind of said some of the things. I just want to say your fire department was there working with roads, working with public works, working with KCSO Search and Rescue. They brought their snowcat up. So we were directing people to call a fire station, and if they had a need, we would come up to them. And if we couldn't get to them via road, we started hiking 5 feet in snow, and we answered every call. Even if it meant just checking someone's heater or delivering them a little bit of water so they can get through the system, your Kern County Fire Department and your county departments banded together to help the community.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Appreciate roads, too. Okay. Moving on to item 14 under the General Services Division. This is a request to accept an in-kind donation from Chad and Lindsay Hathaway, trustees of CNL Hathaway Family Trust, in the form of an off-highway vehicle for use by Kern County Park Rangers. And I'm going to kick this off to Ryan Alsop, who's going to lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to be quick. It's late this afternoon. Our Kern County Rangers are critically important to, they're a critically important public safety force on the streets throughout Kern County. They patrol our parks, they keep our parks safe, along with county property. They do a lot. There are those that I hear from that talk about the fact that they don't see them. Or they're not doing enough. I get after-action reports from our Rangers every week. It's a list of all the activity that they've been involved with, generally over a 6-day period. I just want to read for you really quick before I hand it over to Mr. Hill. The end-year Ranger activity report for last year, so January 1st through December 31st, 2022. They made 389 arrests. 302 misdemeanor and 90, just about 90 felony arrests. They wrote 3,783 citations. 563 were state. They've got state/traffic citations, 2,000 parking citations, and a little over 1,100 administrative citations. Those are things like being in parks after hours or probably drinking in the park and things like that. They impounded 111 vehicles, probably for good reason, a variety of good reasons. They took 532 crime reports, recovered 6 stolen vehicles, made 30 DUI arrests, issued 213 citations for illegal OHV, off-highway vehicle activity. They impounded 13 of those vehicles, seized 17 guns, and had 454 homeless contacts, running into somebody that's homeless, engaging with them, figuring out what they're able to do, not 100% of the time getting those homeless people into shelter or some sort of other care, but that does happen. I'd say a quarter of those probably wound up going into a better place and getting some, and then some of those folks were probably arrested too for outstanding warrants and other things. So look, our Rangers do a lot. I thank them. I thank their chief, Shane Duncan. I just wanted to point it out. They do a lot. I get these reports every single week, and I'm really blown away by not just the activity, but the the danger they put themselves in on behalf of our residents as county employees. So I thank them. I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Hill.
Thank you, Ryan. Good afternoon, Chairman Flores, members of the board. Jeffrey Hill, Chief General Services Officer. As stated by Mr. Alsop, we're here to accept the generous donation by Mr. Hathaway. Would you come on up, Chad? And just tell you how this kind of came down. A little while ago, while on patrol, Ranger Josh James, who's behind us here, saw this nefarious-looking character taking down one of our law enforcement signs. And so he whipped into to where he saw the person by the sign, and he sees Mr. Hathaway here, and he wasn't, in fact, taking one down. He was putting it back up. And it was a no illegal dumping sign, something that's near and dear to all of our hearts. What's that? I bought the sign. Oh, he bought the sign and put it up. At any rate, Officer James approached him. They started having a conversation. And during that conversation, they talked about the types of illegal activities that happen in and around Hart Park and generally in the county. And they suggested that Chad take a ride, and he did a ride-along with our staff. During the initial conversation and ride-along, Chad commented on how surprised he was with all the activity, and he got to see some of that go on. And he was also impressed by the amount of work that we were able to get done with the resources that we have. Now, our existing ranger equipment is safe and appropriate, but there are needs that would make us more effective and increase visibility and enforcement. Of particular need is a vehicle that can provide effective law enforcement in the areas frequented by OHV, and illegal OHV use in and around Kern County and Hart Park more specifically is really a problem. So that following week, Mr. Hathaway purchased and donated to the Ranger a brand new Razor 4-seat off-road vehicle. And can we show that up on the screen? You guys can see it there on the screen with part of our Rangers and Ranger team and the Razor. It's currently being upfitted and will be deployed soon. Too often, unmet needs are complained about by the public and government. I'm thankful for this donation and true partnership that it represents for Chad to have engaged our team, kind of become interactive with them, and then made this incredible donation. So this will help us with our law enforcement efforts in and around Hart Park and in other areas as well. So I'd like to thank him for that. Chad is going to get, our Ranger Chief Denton and Officer James are going to say a couple of things and give something to Chad here, and then Chad's going to say a couple of words.
As an appreciation, a small token of our appreciation, we're presenting you with this shadow box with our photograph and patches in there.
Thank you.
And not only will this be an excellent tool to apprehend violators, search and rescue needs, saving lives, it's great for building morale and motivating our individuals, as well as a recruiting tool. So thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening, Chair, Supervisors, Chief Denton, Kern County Rangers. On behalf of myself and the Rangers, I want to personally thank Chad for the donation, and this is going to be a game changer for my team, and it's very well appreciated. Thank you, sir.
I just asked for a receipt, that's all. But I feel bad all this time and effort has been put into something that I told Sergeant James when I met him out that night at 10 o'clock, putting up a sign for no dumping, and I also kind of lied and put a surveillance sign underneath it. There's really not surveillance. But I was going to make a statement in the public comment period, but this is incredible. Thank you very much. It really warms my heart. I feel like that my wife and I are really blessed to be able to help right now and in the future. I know that our neighborhood would too as well if asked to be congregated. You know, we live off of Alfred Hill Highway down by the river, and it's a beautiful place. Especially living next to Hart Park, it's a place that we visit very frequently. It's a place that serves Kern County really well. It's beautiful in its current state, but the dream in me believes it has tremendous potential, and I like to be a part of seeing it to continue to develop. And so that's something that I really would like to be involved in the future if that's something you allow me to do. Hart Park and Lake Ming, day camp and overnight areas offer tens of thousands of residents a year a nearby place to recreate. It's a short drive from Bakersfield and the surrounding areas. What enables its use is its safety. That safety is provided by the park rangers, not just here, but in several other county parks, throughout Kern County. Recreation, especially in nature, helps our brains relax and stimulates us cognitively, which results in greater productivity at work. Our brains also release more serotonin, a happiness hormone, which improves our moods and relieves stress and makes us better colleagues, friends, and members, therefore better members of our community. You didn't know I cared about that stuff. You know, mostly an oil guy most of the time, but it's important that we get out and recreate. It's important that our families have places to go like Hart Park. So I just want to say thank you very much to the county for funding this program. I know it's been a long day, but the safety these guys create has a much bigger impact on our community than we can even see, that we can even measure. And it's really, it's just a heartfelt opportunity for me to be able to do this, and we'll be here to help in the future and get more others together as well if we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chad. Supervisor Couch, was this an old check-in or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Do we need a motion on that, right?
So I was going to.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, so it's recommended your board accept the in-kind donation valued at $26,333 from Chad and Lindsay Hathaway. They're trustees of the CNL Hathaway Family Trust in the form of the off-highway vehicle, and authorize the chairman to sign a letter of appreciation. That's the recommended action.
Mr. Chairman? I'll be happy to make that motion. I know all the board members are eager to make the motion. You know, Chad, I'm not surprised you care about that stuff. I know you as a Renaissance man, you know, somebody who, but truly what you are, you're somebody who I have observed over the several years that I've known you. You are someone who, if you're passionate about something, if you care about it, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You always, you know, make an investment with your own hard-earned dollars towards causes you believe in. And I just respect the heck out of that. This community's lucky to have you, so thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener.
A second. And thank you, Chad.
Oh, actually, we do have to call for public comment on this item. Is there any public comment? Yes. Yeah. Okay, seeing none, bring it back to the board. I want to echo Supervisor Scrivener's sentiments. Thank you, Chad, for your generosity. Love having you at Alfred Harold. You've been great working with on traffic safety, on fencing, and your commitment to Hart Park. And this will have an exponential reach on public safety, not just in your area, but in a wider area. So thank you. Okay, we have a motion from Supervisor Peters. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay, I have a motion. Second. Motion and second. Members, cast your vote.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to adjournment. Having no additional items to consider, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, March 14th, 9 a.m. session.
So moved.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.